Joining us now is Peter Lee, the Executive Director of Covered California. Mr. Lee, thank you for joining us this evening.
Great to be with you today.
You were quoted in the New York Times as saying that this pandemic is the first test of the Affordable Care Act. So with that in mind, how are we doing from the insurance standpoint of this pandemic?
You know, I think we're doing pretty well. And what I meant by that quote was, for the first 6-7 years after the Affordable Care Act, we had a strong economy. We had record low unemployment, and we did a great job bringing down the rate of the uninsured. But we saw with this pandemic, millions of Californians losing their jobs and many losing job-based coverage. Covered California has opened our doors wide open, have hundreds of thousands of people, literally, who've gotten coverage during this period of a pandemic. And that's what we're there for. And that's what we're reaching out to make sure people know that if they've lost job-based coverage, come to Covered California. We can help them get signed up or maybe get Medi-Cal.
Let's talk about this. Let's be honest. Nobody in the history of mankind has ever felt sorry for an insurance company. But you guys have to be absolutely overloaded with literally every man, woman, and child in the state wanting to get tested, whether they have symptoms or not.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, is that the costs of COVID are costs that we are all going to bear one way or another. Some of it's baked into our health insurance premiums. Some of it's in Medicaid. Some of it's in federal spending. And I think what we need to all be doing, whether it's an insurance company, Covered California, making our insurance companies are doing the right thing, is meet the healthcare needs. And one of the things that I want to give tip my hats, some to the insurance companies, but really to the doctors, nurses, and hospitals out there. One of the things we've seen is a huge upsurge in people getting healthcare from their homes, telehealth, virtual health. And that's really important, because if you don't need to go into a doctor's office, but you can see them like I'm seeing you now from Zoom from my home, that's a great thing. And we've seen every one of our health plans is paying for those visits. And huge numbers of people are getting care they need. And that's one of the things I want to remind people in Riverside County and across the state is COVID is something to worry about. But if you've got other symptoms, go to your doctor. But that go-to might be on a Zoom meeting. It might be by phone, but people shouldn't be hesitating, thinking about, is that a lump I need to worry about? Is that asthma I need to get checked? Am I a diabetic that I'm not sure about my symptoms? People have a lot of healthcare issues. We can't let the pandemic get California tripped up in making sure Californians get the right care for everything they need.
Let's talk a little bit about the cost. Now, looking at next year, where we hope that to have a vaccine in place, is a vaccine likely going to be covered by our insurance in general, or Covered California specifically?
Yeah, there's no question that if a vaccine is medically necessary and appropriate, bam, it will absolutely be covered. But we're also seeing the federal government doing prepayment for vaccines to the tune of more than $1 billion for some major pharmaceutical companies, based on those vaccines being free in America. And this comes back to the theme of we're going to pay for it one way or another. But if you got coverage through Covered California, no question, if a vaccine costs $20 or $100, it's going to be a covered benefit.
Practically since the day the ACA was passed, the Republican Party has been trying to smash it, to end it, to reduce it. The only thing that the Trump administration has been successful in doing is getting rid of the individual mandate. How much does it hurt our chance for affordable coverage by not making sure that every American has health insurance?
Well, I got to tell you, I need to remind you, and I know you know this, but last year, and it feels like 100 years ago, but starting in 2020, the year we're in, California passed an individual mandate law. So in California, we brought back what was a core element, not the be-all and end-all, but a core element of the individual mandate. Because of that, in 2020, we had a huge bump in our enrollment. Also because California put new state subsidies in place, helping middle-class Californians get financial help for their subsidies, for their healthcare costs. That was going beyond the Affordable Care Act. And I think our lesson is really clear for the nation, that when you lean in and protect the ACA by having a penalty, which no one likes penalties, just like no one likes to wear a mask. But it's the same philosophy. We all do better if everyone's insured. We all do better if everyone wears a mask. It protects you, it protects your neighbors. That's what the penalty is about. You know, I think that the nation will need to pause after this pandemic and look at how do we build on something that's working for tens of millions of Americans rather than play this endless game of political whack-a-mole, of trying to sort of avoid the substance of getting all Americans health care versus playing political games.
All right. Peter Lee, Executive Director of Covered California. Thank you, sir, for a fascinating and certainly broad interview covering a lot of ground. Thank you for your time.
Great to be with you. Thanks much. Be well and be safe.
Thank you, sir.